You're sitting on the couch, looking at clutter. You know exactly what you need to do. You need to clean. Washing a plate is not a mystery to you. You know perfectly well how to wipe down a counter. You know how to take the trash out. But there is a massive wall between knowing what to do and actually doing it. You are not confused about the chores. The real problem is much deeper. The person who made a plan to clean this morning is not the same person sitting on the couch right now. You promised yourself you would do it later. Well, later is here, and you simply do not want to do it anymore. We usually imagine our future selves as perfect. Our future version is well-rested, highly motivated, and never easily distracted. But that person is a fiction. An ancient idea helps you break out of this exhausting cycle. But to understand it, we must briefly look at how Odysseus had used it. Odysseus, a legendary Greek king, spent 10 grueling years trying to sail home after the Trojan War. Along his perilous route, he was warned about the Sirens. They were mythical creatures whose enchanting song drew sailors toward them, and those who listened never returned home. When Odysseus had to sail past the island of the Sirens, he knew their song would overpower his judgment and prevent him from passing safely. So, he did not rely on willpower. He did not assume he would just be strong enough to resist them in the moment. Instead, he made a plan based on his own predictable weakness. He had his crew tie him to the mast. He arranged his environment early so that his future, tempted self could not ruin his earlier plan. We need to bring this exact kind of honesty into our homes. You cannot build a cleaning routine around the perfect hero you wish you were. You have to build it around the tired, distracted person you know will show up at the end of the day. Now, before we can fix anything, we have to figure out what is actually wrong with the room. When a space feels completely messy, we usually just feel ashamed. But a messy room can actually mean a few entirely different things. And it's extremely important to distinguish between them. Sometimes the problem is just dirt, which means a surface needs to be washed or sanitized. Sometimes the problem is untidiness. This happens when your things have proper homes, but they are just not in them right now. There's the problem of clutteredness, where you have more objects in the room than the space can actually hold. And finally, sometimes the issue is a follow-through failure. This is when you know exactly what to do, but starting the task feels impossible. You have to diagnose the real issue first. Buying a new organizing bin will not wash a dirty sink. Throwing things away will not fix a broken daily routine. You need to know if the room needs cleaning, tidying, less stuff, or just a better way to get yourself to act. This brings us to a very quiet trap in our homes. We need to talk about storage. Having a clear home for an object makes tidying up much easier, but storage can easily turn into a form of avoidance. We often use bins and boxes to hide things we do not want to deal with. Psychology points out a big difference between two types of storage. The first is functional storage. This holds items you have actively decided to keep. It has a clear limit and it makes putting things away simple. The second is avoidant storage. This holds things you have not made a decision about yet. It keeps expanding, it hides duplicates, and it delays the truth. A nice basket can make your life easier, but it can also just help you put off a difficult choice. A bin tells you exactly where a kept object goes. It cannot tell you if that object should still be in your house. To actually get things done, we need to stop making vague promises. Telling yourself you will keep the kitchen clean does not work. It is a terrible plan because it never tells you when to start. And to start, you need cues. This is a very simple concept. It links a specific visible cue to a specific action. It is basically an if-then plan. For example, you might say that if you finish eating dinner, you will load your plate into the dishwasher immediately. Or you might say that if the trash is full, you will put the bag by the front door. Do not leave your future self with a vague goal. Give your future self a clear trigger and a simple instruction. This ties perfectly into a psychological framework called situational self-control. We usually think of self-control as a massive internal fight. We picture ourselves battling a huge temptation right at the moment we feel it. But research shows that early interventions can reduce how much effortful resistance you need later. You need to change the situation before the bad impulse fully forms. The best time to beat a temptation is before it even feels like one. You can do this by changing what is easy to reach in your home. Put a laundry hamper right in the exact spot where you naturally drop your clothes. Keep your surface spray right next to the bathroom sink where you use it. Keep extra trash bags at the bottom of the trash can. Every unnecessary step adds friction and creates another point where the routine can break down. Do not force yourself to overcome a badly designed room. Change the room before it drains your energy. To make this even easier, tie your new habits to stable parts of your day. A behavior can become easier to start when it is repeatedly performed in a stable context. You want to attach your cleaning task to a cue that already exists. This could be right after you finish breakfast. It could be the moment you walk through the front door after work. It could be right before you plug your phone in for the night. Let a normal, automatic part of your day drag the cleaning chore along with it. Do not wait around for inspiration to strike. Even with a great plan, just thinking about the chore can make you freeze. This is often driven by a concept called task aversiveness, which is a major part of procrastination. Basically, the chore feels deeply unpleasant or overwhelming, so your brain tries to escape it. Telling yourself to clean the whole house is a massive trap. That is a life project, not a simple first step. One practical response is to shrink and clarify the starting action. Make the first move small and concrete enough that it no longer represents the entire room. Do not tell yourself to clean the kitchen. Just tell yourself to throw away the visible trash. Just promise to wipe down one small section of the counter. Just gather the dirty cups. Give your body a clear, tiny movement to make before your mind can panic. As you make these tiny plans, you also have to be realistic about what usually goes wrong. You do not just picture the beautiful, clean result you want. You also have to clearly picture the exact obstacle that always gets in your way. You might desperately want a clean kitchen every morning, but the real obstacle is that you crash onto the couch the second dinner is over. Being realistic means you plan for that exact couch. You might decide that if you start walking toward the couch, then you will stop and load your plate first. Odysseus did not just daydream about his home. He planned for the obstacles that stood in his way. You have to do the exact same thing. Of course, doing chores in the present moment is rarely fun. The reward for cleaning is entirely delayed. The present version of you needs a real reason to care right now. You get that reason by pairing something you love with a chore you hate. It gives you an immediate reward for doing a hard thing. You might save your favorite podcast and reserve it for washing dishes. You might only let yourself listen to a specific audiobook while folding laundry. You do not always have to fight your temptations. Sometimes you can give your temptations a highly useful job to do. But even the best system cannot be rigid. Your energy levels change every single day. If you build a cleaning routine that requires maximum energy, it will shatter on a bad day. You need to actively cope with variable resources. You need separate plans for different levels of capacity. You might have a full capacity plan for when you feel great. That might include deep cleaning and sorting. Then you need an ordinary plan. This just covers the daily dishes, taking out the trash, and doing essential laundry. But most importantly, you need a minimum plan. On your most exhausted days, this plan asks almost nothing of you. It might just mean taking out food waste so it does not smell, and making sure the sink is clear. Being consistent does not mean doing the maximum amount of work every day. It just means keeping the system alive, even if the effort is tiny. Inevitably, you will still mess up. You will miss a day. A lot of household systems fail completely just because of one single bad day. One missed chore suddenly feels like proof that you have failed entirely. To stop this, you need a recovery rule. You have to decide what happens after the plan breaks, before it actually breaks. Maintenance means learning how to handle a lapse. You might decide that if you miss your evening cleanup, you will just do the minimum version tomorrow morning. Or you might say that if the whole room gets destroyed, you will only worry about trash and dishes to start. A good system expects interruptions and lapses. It gives you a gentle, simple instruction for how to come back. A good routine is not about having a spotless house for one magical afternoon. A good routine is one that stops you from endlessly arguing with yourself. A system is successful when it removes the need to make constant decisions. If you have to negotiate with yourself every single night, the habit will never stick. The goal here is not to become a robot. The goal is to move your choices to the right moment. You want to use your autonomy when you are feeling clear and rested. Make the big decisions early. Decide what you want to keep. Pick a good, stable cue. Choose a fun podcast for your temptation bundle. Figure out your minimum routine. If you make those choices while you have the energy, you heavily protect your future self. Your exhausted self is left with a very simple path to follow. You do not need to become stronger than your tired self. You just need to build a system that tired version of you can actually survive.